Okay, let me turn you to Benghazi. You've been quite outspoken, Senator, I know, about Susan Rice, the UN ambassador, the things that she said on the Sunday following the Benghazi attack, which turned out not to be true. Are her chances to become Secretary of State, should the president nominate her, and we expect something to happen this week on that, are her chances over? Is she a non-starter for you?
I did meet with her this week. I remain very troubled, not only myself. For example, the ranking Republican, Susan Collins, of the Homeland Security Committee, raised some very important questions after a meeting with her. But here's where we are. If after the meeting with her, I think there was an impression left that she just went on and repeated some unclassified talking points on all the Sunday shows. But she had reviewed the daily intelligence briefings, including the classified talking materials that basically had the references that individuals with ties to Al-Qaeda were involved in the attack on Benghazi. She did. That information she had reviewed before going on the Sunday shows, and when on the Sunday shows went well beyond the talking points, saying we have decimated Al-Qaeda. That was nowhere in the talking points. Said things like the attacks were a direct result of a heinous and offensive video. That was not in the talking points. Said that the security at our consulate was substantial, strong, significant. That's not in the talking points, and frankly, not supported by the record. I mean, what happened that day?
So has Susan Rice disqualified herself?
Nothing I have heard, in my mind, would disqualify her thus far. Now, what's amazing to me is what we should be focusing on are not so much what was said about which talking points, but how did the tragedy where 4 Americans were killed in Benghazi happen? We've got a State Department investigation headed up by Tom Pickering and former General Mullen. We've got on the Intelligence Committee, on which I serve, we're now in a series of hearings looking at that. How do we make sure, I'm sure Kelly and I would agree, that we've got appropriate protection for our State Department personnel? How do we make sure if they come under assault that we've got assets, ability to come in and protect them? What I find remarkable is the president hasn't even nominated anyone yet. Why are we spending all this time? If he nominates Secretary Rice or Ambassador Rice, we ought to have this discussion. What we ought to be looking at is what happened in Benghazi. How do we make sure it never happens again?
Do you find it interesting? I mean, that happened September 11th. It is now December 2nd, and we still don't know what happened, why there wasn't any security. I mean, isn't it part of that overall discussion?
And I agree with what Mark said in terms of the big picture question here. Why don't we know yet? First of all, why was the consulate so unsecure, given the prior attacks, given that the British left, the Red Cross left, and also during a 7-hour attack, why couldn't we help those individuals? But also, this talking point issue, I hope that our intelligence was not politicized, because there's been some intelligence questions and failures here. We've had 3 stories on the talking points, so that's important, just making sure that our intelligence is solid going forward.
Remember, these talking points came at the request of the House Intelligence Committee. If there was a way to make sure we get those cleaned up and they were amended 4 days later, again, we'll get into this if this individual is nominated. What I think at the end of the day, we need to make sure we never have this kind of tragedy again. And candidly, back to the issue of before, in 30 days, we got to decide whether this country is going to go over a cliff that would be dramatic not only to our economy, but to the world's economy. That's where we got to have our focus right now.
Senator Warner, Senator Ann, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Candy.